Hello and welcome to tonight's workshop, Microaggressions with Peer Health Exchange, a Pathfinder workshop. This workshop is brought to you by Pathfinder. Pathfinder is an extracurricular program for incoming first and second years at Northeastern, and we provide a safe and inclusive space for students to discuss and pursue their passions. If you haven't already, you can join Pathfinder using the link in our chat. Our applications are rolling and open to first and second year students. You can also join our moderators. They're third, fourth, fifth, and recent graduates of Northeastern. And on our website, you can find more information about our program and additional resources. If you're looking for more of our workshops, you can check out our YouTube channel or our podcast to see all of the workshops we had in the spring semester. And I will pass it over to Peer Health Exchange.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anisa. I am one of the co-presidents of Peer Health Exchange. My other co-president is Jon. Jon, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Jon. I'm a fifth year health science student, also a co-coordinator, and I use he, him pronouns.
Yeah, and I use she, her pronouns, and today we're going to be presenting on microaggressions.
Awesome. Just to give a little introduction into Peer Health Exchange, who we are and what we do. We build healthier communities with young people. Together, we create education opportunities for peers to share the tools and resources young people need to make healthy decisions. And the way we've traditionally done that is through in-person teaching of health education classes in Boston Public Schools classrooms. They've focused on mental health, sexual health, and substance use and abuse. And we focus on communication skills, decision-making skills, things like that. So not just hard knowledge, a lot of the soft skills that come along with it as well. Since the pandemic, we've transitioned a little bit more into virtual learning. We got some Zoom workshops done all of last year, but we're hoping to move back into the classroom next year. With our partners, we seek to advance health equity and improve health outcomes for young people in under-resourced communities. So again, focusing on fighting and combating those health disparities.
Awesome. And then just to touch upon our community agreements, these are kind of like the baseline rules that we use whenever we go into the classroom. And these apply to all of the curriculum that we teach. It's just to kind of provide a safe space for students to feel free to ask questions, and also for educators to feel comfortable and feel like they're being respected when they're teaching. So the first one is one mic. So that's when you are speaking, no one else should be speaking. It's basically the idea that everyone who is anyone who is talking should have the platform to do so. The second one is be respectful and supportive, and then speak your truth, which is just only speaking what's relative to yourself, not really talking about anyone else's experience in the classroom. Again, providing a safe space. And then being comfortable, being uncomfortable. This one's actually my favorite one just because it's so applicable to the topics that we discuss. We talk about everything from mental health to sexual health. And I think it's really important just to kind of reduce the stigma around those topics and also just like advocate.
So today's session, we're going to be talking about microaggressions. On a more broad note, the purpose is to remove barriers for students to talk about who they are and how they feel about who they are, basically their identities. And the biggest of these three is to center equity, removing barriers to a student's full participation. So today, when we're talking about microaggressions, we're talking about something that might cause a student not to feel like they're fully able to engage with the conversation, whether that's in the college classroom, in the high school classroom, anything like that.
So first, just to touch upon what are microaggressions, just kind of to give a background to anyone who's unfamiliar with them. They basically are like brief and everyday insults or anything that could be degrading for someone, whether that's intentional or unintentional. It's definitely directed at somebody's identity, their gender, their sexuality. And again, they can be subtle or overt. So you could intend to say something and it just come out the wrong way, or you could be ignorant towards what you're saying and not really know the full meaning of what you're saying. Or it could just be like somebody just saying something and they mean it, but they don't, like, it's just a little bit confusing sometimes. And I think that's why we did want to talk about it. And just to give a little bit of examples of what microaggressions can be like: all lives matter, you are so articulate, where are you from? Just some things that can come across as ignorant, but can also be intentional at the same time and are directed and can be harmful when used.
Some common microaggressions that students face in the classroom: mispronouncing names, specifically when they've been corrected over and over and over again, just never getting that right, never putting the effort in to learn someone's name. That can be really insulting and feel like, they don't respect you as a person. Assuming someone's gender, continuing to misuse pronouns even after the student indicates their pronouns to you. Over Zoom, this was hopefully easier for students and teachers, being able to just see the he, him like I have in mind or whatever. But still, it's something that happens. It's something that people need to work on, whether that's a student educator or a teacher in the high school classroom or a professor in the college setting. Using gender exclusive language like, hey guys, that's something that I definitely need to work on. I've been known to start meetings just saying, hey guys, as an offhand, just figure of speech. But especially for somebody who's trying to transition away from using pronouns like hey guys, like guys, that can be definitely harmful. Using normal to describe heterosexual relationships or really anything, in especially in conversations about health, there's not really one normal. There's not really one place where people fall that that's right and everything else is wrong. Everybody has their own comfort zone. Everybody has different things going on in their lives. But especially with like sexuality, there's no such thing as a normal. So using that term, even though it might be what was taught to you as normal growing up, even though it might be what's seen as normal in society, it's not really the term that should be used in that situation. So those are some common microaggressions that students face.
Great. And then just to talk about like the whole reason why we're doing this and how microaggressions can impact learning both in the classroom where we teach in Boston Public Schools and at Northeastern University. It's saying microaggressions and using them actively is just the tip of the iceberg. When you do misgender students and you do like not use proper names and not make an effort to correct that, it can make them feel demeaned and also be like almost an insult to their identity and not really encourage them to actively participate, whether that's in the classroom or I guess engaging in life and other extracurriculars. So I think it's really important when we are in the classroom to take agency and to try to make an active effort to correct. If you are like, as John said, like not correctly like using someone's pronouns or not correctly pronouncing their name, and even just making very stereotypical generalizations that like sometimes our implicit bias can get the best of us and unconsciously we can do those things. Again, at the end of the day, we're all human beings, but it's important when you do make a mistake to correct yourself, and to apologize and take ownership and accountability, because at the end of the day, we do want to provide a safe and comfortable environment for everyone to actively participate wherever they are and to feel free to ask questions, especially when it comes to peer health exchange and teaching high school students health curriculum.
So when people are discussing microaggressions, a common response is that they're innocent acts, that the person who experiences them should let go of the incident, not make a big deal out of it, just like, oh, they weren't doing it on purpose, don't worry about it. So to our audience members here, could either of you explain why you agree or disagree with this point of view?
I would disagree with this. I'm pretty sensitive myself, so when I feel like someone is not respectful for me, um, I would want my feelings to be validated. So if someone were to tell me don't make a big deal out of it, I think that would really upset me. And um, I think it's a good idea to give people space to be upset and space to be to process it and maybe work it out with the person that happened with.
Absolutely. Thank you, Catherine. So definitely something that we talk about is one of the biggest things is how you respond and so upon being called out for committing a microaggression, by saying that the person who felt a certain way shouldn't make a big deal out of it, that's going to make that person feel worse. That's going to make that person feel guilty, and just upset, saying, oh, you just shouldn't make a big deal out of it. It's definitely not the right way to go. So I totally agree with that. And I think you made a great point about different levels of sensitivity. What you may perceive as a microaggression may perceive as something harmful might not be different than the person next, or might not be the same as the person next to you, but that doesn't invalidate anyone's feelings.
Awesome. And then just to talk about ways that we can counteract microaggressions and how to handle them in the classroom or in life. These two professors from San Diego University, they came up with the Raven approach, and I found it to be really helpful and honestly awesome that they were able to accomplish something like this, because I think the way they explained it was really cohesive and concise and very straightforward. So just to talk about it a little bit, the acronym stands for redirect, asking probing questions for clarity, valuing clarification, emphasizing your own thoughts and feelings, and next steps. So going through them one by one, redirecting, kind of addressing it in the moment and being like, okay, like I'm not comfortable with the language that you're using, or I just want to stop you here because I'm not sure what you mean. Just kind of addressing it in the moment, and then asking probing questions like what did you mean by this? What did you mean by this specific phrase? Or could you further explain that? Valuing that person's clarification, like if they do address it and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, or if they are like, this is what I meant, not so much as what I said, or but like how I said it, I'm like, I apologize for that. So definitely giving them space to explain themselves. And then emphasizing your own thoughts and feelings, like how did you feel in that moment? Do you feel like your feelings were validated after they explained everything and addressed how you felt? If not, like how could you further get that across without being confrontational and like passive aggressive? I think with anything, it's not so much what people say, but how you feel in that moment. And I think it's really important to just like make sure that at the end of the day that you feel like your feelings are being validated. And then next step. So where do you go from there with that person? How would you handle an experience if that were to happen again? What could you learn from that? How could you improve? Anything like that.
Okay, so just to touch on the college setting, because not everybody who watches this video is going to join Peer Health Exchange, but I'm pretty sure everybody who watches this video is going to be a Northeastern student at some point. So Northeastern's a predominantly white institution. That doesn't just go for students, that also goes for professors. So that can be power dynamics that are at play, and just something to keep in mind when you're in the classroom. So our students, as anywhere, our students have endured a wide variety of lived experience, many of which are complex and difficult to discuss. Not everybody's going to feel comfortable, have that agency to stand up for themselves, and not everybody's going to be able to use the Raven approach for themselves in that moment. So it's important to hold each other accountable. As I mentioned before, if you don't find a microaggression harmful, someone else might. If you're sitting there and you notice something that you're like, that's kind of off, and it wasn't even directed at you, that person might be feeling a lot worse. So it's important for you to be able to stand up for someone, to be able to hold your peers, to hold your professors, to hold anybody that you're working with accountable. And using the Raven approach is important. As Anisa had mentioned, it encourages a respectful atmosphere. It encourages not just being like, well, like you're wrong, non-confrontational. It's a way to be better focused on making the atmosphere one of discussion, one of talking about what went wrong, more open, and being able to talk about your feelings more honestly.
With that, we just wanted to say thank you, and then just provide the space to ask any questions. We were really happy and excited to have this platform to talk about our club, and we hope that any interested students would take interest and email us if you need to at Peer Health Exchange. We also have a social media account on Instagram, so yeah, feel free to just reach out. We're always here. And we'd love to have you as a part of our club.
So we recruit in the fall, typically only in the fall. So starting in pretty much when school starts, it'll be difficult to miss us. We'll be chalking all over campus. We'll be doing classroom announcements. We'll be recruiting on social media, but our recruitment normally happens in the fall, closes in October at some point.
So I was wondering, what is the extent of involvement if you just want to be a little bit involved to like the range of like you want to be teaching in the classroom? Is there kind of a range, or is it a bigger commitment?
Yeah, so there is a bit of a range, but the lower end of the range is still pretty high commitment. All of our volunteers are expected to be educating in the classroom. All of our volunteers are expected to be attending weekly meetings. And obviously there's, some level of forgiveness with missing meetings, but for the most part, you're supposed to be attending every single meeting and teaching every week once teaching starts getting into the swing of things. And there's also like other things that go on, like teaching evaluations. So those you'd be expected to make as well. So it is a bit of a time commitment every week.
Yeah, I would say just to preface, like we do really much depend on our educators, especially in the classroom. So teaching weekly, except for if the fact that if you're on co-op, obviously you would be excused in that sense, just because we do, we don't want you to ever compromise your career for our club, which is supposed to be an extracurricular and it's supposed to be for fun. But with that being said, we do expect educators to attend weekly meetings. They're usually on Wednesdays at like 7:30, and they'll probably still be on Wednesdays this year. Granted, like everything works out and like schedule permits, but yeah, that is basically the gist of our club. And then in terms of teaching, it would be at the same school every week. And you would be able to build relationships with students in the classroom, which I think is really awesome.
Well, thank you so much for this presentation. Thandiwe, do you have any other questions that you'd like to?
Yeah. Do you have any like tips or suggestions for how people can be more aware that they aren't saying microaggressions?
I guess more so just educating yourself, like understanding that everybody comes, and like simple things like understanding that everyone comes from different backgrounds and has different traumas, and also like it has endured certain experiences that you may not have, and how certain things that you may think are okay to say might not be okay to say. And just also double checking yourself when you say things, or like how you say them. Like one of the simplest ones that I can think of is when you address, like as John was saying, when you say like, hey guys, just like if you do say that, which I have at meetings for Peer Health Exchange, then I'll be like, oh, I'm sorry, hey everyone, or hey you all, like just correcting yourself in that moment. And also forgiving yourself as well. Like we're all human, we all make mistakes. It's not going to be like, you're not going to get someone's name every time. Like if, especially on Zoom, I think it's very easy, even though we have like the names in the corner, like in front of us, I think it's very easy to mispronounce someone's name still. And I think with that, it's just like being like forgiving yourself and making it a better attempt to do it right the next time and say their name right the next time, and apologizing for that, and then like carrying forward and being like not getting so hard on yourself, because we do make mistakes, we're all human. So yeah.
And I would say even to add on to that more, not making it about yourself. If you were in a situation where you said something that somebody felt uncomfortable with, to apologize, to like do whatever you can to move on and like do it right the next time, but then not make a big scene like, oh, I'm so sorry, oh, I'm the worst. Anything like that is just not helpful. The other thing is just in terms of avoiding committing or saying microaggressions yourself. I'd say just checking in with yourself, checking in with what you're saying, thinking about how other people might feel when they hear the things that you're saying. That's just a big one to me. It's just thinking about how other people might be feeling.
Yeah, that's definitely great advice. We also have one last question we always ask our hosts. Since Pathfinder is for like first and second years mainly, we always ask our host about like their first year at Northeastern. If you have any tips for freshmen, things you wish you would have known when you started out, stuff like that.
That's awesome. Let me think. My freshman year, I think my biggest thing looking back on my freshman year is that I did not expect, like, I knew I would go on co-op, I knew I would do things, I knew stuff would happen, but I did not expect to be where I was, or where I am now. So I would say my biggest advice would just be to be like open-minded towards change, towards new opportunities, towards like when I do get those opportunities to like jumping in and like really going full speed into it. Because freshman year I didn't join any clubs, not even a single one. I went to a couple meetings of one club and I was like not really interested. And here I am, you know, a co-president of a huge organization of like 150 volunteers. So just not being afraid to really jump into things.
I think my advice would be to have fun, because I think it is very easy for us at Northeastern to get caught up in everything. Like, because of co-op, we are so career driven and education driven, and I think that's great. And not for nothing, like, it's important, but I think at the end of the day, value your friends, value your roommate, go out, get ice cream in the summer in Boston, like have fun, like really, because this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I think college only lasts 4 years, but they go by so fast. Well, Northeastern, you could say 5 years, but it goes by so fast. And I think definitely like taking that time, get to know yourself, like spend time like shopping on Newberry, even if it's alone, like do fun things just for yourself. And I think that's definitely advice that I feel like all freshmen need to hear, because you get so caught up in everything and you forget like that, like, okay, yeah, like I'm supposed to be like, this is college, like I'm allowed to have fun, like I'm allowed to leave Snell. So I think that's really important.
Yes, absolutely. Treat yourself once in a while and just take care of yourself. I completely agree with that. So important. Well, I think that's all we have today. Thank you so much to both of you for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. I think that this information is going to be so important for all our students at Pathfinder and then future students. And yeah, we're excited to share this with everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much. We really appreciate the opportunity and the platform. We like when we found out about this, we were like, no way, like this is like too good to be true. So thank you so much.